Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Like it's a news segment, homie. Nah, man, it's more exciting than that. So as you guys know, we do have the Superbet Romania going on. And it's actually pretty fitting because we do have a Romanian playing in the game right now. So this is round number 3 game between Wesley and Bogdan-Daniel Deac. So anybody who is coming from the Philippines, I will say maraming salamat. Anybody who is coming from Romania, I will say mulțumesc. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look see what we got for this game, son. All right, so we got knight to f3. Let me get my volume up. Did forget that. Cool. We got knight to f3. We got d5. We got g3. We got g6. So we kind of have like a little King's Indian attack and defense type situation going on. It does transpose, as always. Knight to f3 is pretty much going to do that. We got bishop g2, we got bishop g7, we got d4, knight goes to f6, and we do have c4, and we have finally arrived at the Neo-Grünfeld defense. So for those of you that do play d4, you probably see, not quite this exact variation, but, you can have a situation where you have this particular type of a setup. You probably have something like maybe knight to c3, kind of however you play it yourself. So this is very familiar to you. We do see pawn taking c4. We got knight going to a3. Now, knight b to d2 is also possible. I mean, you're not leaving the knight on either one of those squares. You're going to be, capturing on c4. So it really kind of doesn't matter where you put it. But I will say this. Be careful putting your knight on a3 if a bishop can immediately capture, because sometimes you can end up with a pretty hard endgame to play. We do see the move c5, of course, trying to break down white's really nice center. We got castles by white. Knight goes to c6. We got pawn taking c5. Queen taking d1. Rook taking d1. We got bishop to e6. Making a desperate attempt to try to defend the pawn that we have. We see white doing the same thing with bishop to e3. But this piece is going to be a little bit harder to hold for white. Knight goes back to d7. We do see knight to d4. You kind of got to plug this up. And this is one of the main, issues that you have when you have a bishop on a really long diagonal, is that you start having little points hit. So we do cover that up with knight to d4. Knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes. We do have long castles by black. And as I was telling you guys before, it is pretty impossible to try to hold this pawn. You can, maybe do some counterattack, but it's going to be pretty impossible to do. Knight takes c4, knight does take c5. We got rook taking a d8 with check, rook taking d8 with check. We got knight to a5. Adding a little bit of pressure to this pawn right here, but, it's very nicely defended by black. Also, we do see rook to d7, and we do actually see rook to c1. Okay. So, we have actually reached a position that Deac has to find. It's not an only move. There are 2 legitimate moves in the position. So I will take one as an alternative. But if you want to try to pause the video and guess what move Deac plays in this position, go ahead and do so. All right, cool. You always got to stay hydrated, folks. Got my little water jug, man. Keeps my stuff cold. So this position, you pretty much have 2 options. You can attack the knight immediately and basically try to force it to move, and also, protect your knight at the same time. But you can also go king to b8, and king to b8 is the actual move that I was looking for. I think that a majority of people are going to be focused on the fact that their knight is like kind of hanging here because it is pinned against the king. The thing that you do have to understand if you are black, though, is white is basically lost if they give up this back rank. And I will show you exactly why. Let's say, for example, we see, like I said, king to b8 in the position, and white decides, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and grab a knight for free. Well, the problem is you see the bar. It's completely gone for white. You do have rook to d1 with check. The bishop goes down to cover. That's the only move. And then you have bishop to h3. And all you can really do is start throwing pieces away at black, but they're going to weather that storm, and then you're just going to be, there's just no way to, defend this position if you're white. So we absolutely cannot go into that. So after we saw king to b8, we did see the move b3, and this is just giving the knight a retreat, because like I said, you really can't lift this rook off this back rank. So this allows the knight to come back, and, structure could be a little damaged, but, it just basically gives you the ability to retreat. So after we do see b3, we got knight up to a6. We see the move a3, trying to restrict black's knight. We would really love to keep this knight just on this really stupid, horrible square, ideally. But we do see bishop to d5. We can't retreat the knight back without covering this because you would be disconnecting the rook from the protection of this. and we definitely don't want to be dropping b7 in this position. We do see rook going over to d1. We got knight going back to c7. We got the move f4. We see king over to c8. We got the move e4. We got the move b6. So it's crazy up to this point. Both players, okay, so the crazy thing about this game is it is a very, very highly accurate game. Like, both players played 99%. So it's insane how they basically played this many moves, and they're playing completely accurately. It's hard to fathom because, you know, most people, I think you get around 10 to 12 moves, you kind of start making mistakes, and then you start going downhill, but these players are really, really good. We do see pawn taking d5, pawn taking a5. A little bit suspect, I will say, from the black side, because you do have these doubled a pawns, which you absolutely want to try to stay away from, but they are allowed in some positions. We do see rook going over to c1. We got rook down to d6. Rook goes up to c5 to try to defend. Rook goes to b6. And so, like I said, all of these moves that you see white and black that are making are coming perfectly in time. So we got the captures here, captures here, captures here. We got a check. The king goes up. We kind of mess around a little bit. Rook check. King goes back. And then we kind of, dance around. And we got bishop to f1. And that is really kind of what, black was hoping for. Because then you have this take. Knight takes d5. And white's like, fine, take it. I watched a movie recently. And it has a part like that. It's really funny. Jumanji. I suggest you guys watch if you have never heard of the movie. Or you want just a nice movie to watch. We do see king going to f2, rook goes to b2 at check. So we kind of have some maneuvering, some checking, trying to get the upper hand on each other. The knight goes back to c7, bishop goes to e2. And I will say this, though. Visually, it does look like white is just doing a little better, even though it says triple zeros. It looks like, okay, I got a rook, bishop versus a knight. I have an outside pass pawn over here. It kind of just seems like white is going to be able to get themselves into a winning position. But if black plays correctly, you're not going to ever be able to do that. We do see the move h5, and this is cutting the king off a little bit. Sometimes maybe the king might want to try to kind of sneak up here. And, if the king can actually get pretty close to these pawns as white, you might have a little something going on. We do see rook down to a4. We got e6. We see rook over to b4. Now, it is not deadly by any means. If you go into this trade, you would see rook taking and pawn taking. And the king and the knight's position are good enough to be able to make sure that you're corralling that pawn. But, like I said, visually, you have a bishop versus a knight, and you have an outside pass pawn. So, I mean, this is definitely a much harder endgame to play if you are black. And everybody's not great at endgames. So, I mean, you definitely, if you're not a great endgame player, you don't want to get yourself in a harder endgame to play. So, like I said, we did see rook to b4. And then Wesley says, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and avoid the trade. We do see rook going down to b3. We got knight to d5. We do see the move h4. And now, if you notice, white has all of their pawns on dark squares. So, their light square bishop is completely maximized. We do see king to c7, bishop to c4, rook goes to c2. So you can see that each player is just kind of picking at each other, but they are playing hyperactive, accurate moves in these positions. The bishop goes down to d3. We got rook to a2. So we kind of have a lot of maneuvering, a lot of shifting. It's a very positional type of game. We repeat positions, bishop to d3, rook to a2. We make sure that we avoid a threefold repetition. Obviously, neither player wants to just draw the game. They are definitely both playing for a win. King goes to d6. We see king to d4. Rook over to d2. We got king over to c4. King c6. Bishop goes to e4. Now, I will say the interesting thing in this position right now is you do have to kind of be careful. Black is definitely wanting white to give up their bishop for this knight. They kind of have everything pretty much plugged up. And this knight is actually really, really strong in the center of the board. So in this position, the knight and the bishop are just about equal. Neither piece is better than the other piece. So we got rook to e2. We got bishop to f3. We got rook down to e1, king to d4. We got king to d6. Bishop takes d5. Now, this position is just a little bit different because of the way that the pieces are positioned. This is definitely a better position for white to go into. Like I said, bishop takes, pawn takes, and then we do have this rook check on b6. And you do have to be pretty careful about where exactly you put your king because you don't want to just abandon your entire, king side of pawns. So we do see king up to e7. King takes d7. So white is up a good pawn. But it basically, in rook endgames, as you guys might be familiar with, you do definitely have to get into a certain position. And it is the activity of the kings that reigns supreme. So we will see if it's, if you're capable of doing it here. We got rook up to e3. This is absolutely what you want. One of the ideas about putting a rook on the 7th rank is that you usually have a lot of pawns on the 7th rank. But in this position, basically the 7th rank moves up to the 6th. It's the same idea. So we got rook to e3, we got a4. The rook goes over to a3. We see rook down to b4, trying to hold everything. We got rook taking g3. We got the move a5. Now, ideally, what we want to try to do is we want to try to get this king right next to the pawn, and we want to do what's called building a bridge. It's the Lucina position. It's an in-game concept so that we can put our rook and block off, because this rook is going to be coming over here. So just kind of showing you guys what that would look like. Rook going into a3. We kind of somewhat get into position, but like I said, the activity of black's king definitely makes a difference. So we kind of get into the position. I'll just kind of go through some moves real quick. So we are in this situation. If this king was any farther away, then it wouldn't be able to do anything about getting into the Lucina position. You pretty much have it set up, and then all you really need to do to complete it would be this move here. The problem in the position is this is a rook pawn. So it provides black with the ability to just go over here and just kind of hang out. And without the king's support, you can never force either of these pawns home. So you're in a really, really stuck position. So that is why king to c8 and the king being able to get in front of the situation is so monumental. So don't forget your king's activity in those end games, people. So we do see king to b8. We got the move f5. We got rook takes h4. We got rook to e5, because why not threaten checkmate? Like, let's just do that. Anytime you can threaten checkmate, you obviously know that your opponent has to respond to that checkmate. We got rook to b4. This is a very useful move just to check the king away from being in the opposition of the other king, so the king has to step over. We got king to a5. We see rook over to f4. We got rook up to e8 with check. The king goes to a7. We got rook e7 check. The king goes to a8, and then we see a repetition here, getting to this position right here. And we have drawn the game by threefold repetition. So like I was telling you guys a second ago, there really is no good way to really force the issue with either side, because you have these endless checks. And then when the king ever tries to come over in this area right here, you just literally have endless checks behind. And you can always give what we call checking distance, move a little bit further behind the king, and you literally can just keep checking all day long. You know, the king can only go in one space at a time, so it's going to take a couple of moves to get connected to that rook. Then you can just move it back up again. So that is a draw. So, you know, it's a draw. It's not like the most exciting game. It had like, you know, kind of a little bit of juiciness to it. So, you know, both sides had, you know, kind of little chances and stuff. So, you know, this just is a testament to how strong these players play. So, like I said, maraming salamat na king makaibigan. Post na numero inga king ma video. Hello ulit. Magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang gabi. Whatever time it is for you, where you're at. Appreciate you guys very much. Mulțumesc. And if it's morning for you, bună dimineața. If you speak Romanian, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next time.